to say, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. You see, there is the change by Jesus that brought liberty. There's the change that brought light. He had that napkin wrapped around his face. Jesus said, take it off. Can you imagine trying to see everything around you? You ever tried to walk somewhere blindfold? If anybody ever comes your way and they want to put a blindfold on you and they want you just to follow them, you ought to be suspect of that, all right, to start with. He's walked out. He can't see anything. You know what Jesus says? Take that off. Again, the Mountain Hebrew of that would be this: take the blinders off. He can't see where he's going. Do you understand? When God saved us, our perspective on life changed. We no longer looked at things the same. Now we look at things so much differently. You know, before you got saved, you could read the Bible and be honest about it. It didn't make much sense to you, did it? You couldn't see. You didn't understand why people went to church. You look today. People are asking questions. Why do those folks go up there to that church so much? Why are they up there? I'm going to tell you, we ought not to worry about why they can't understand it. They've not been given the light that we've been given. There's something different about us. And so the change that Christ brought to Lazarus was one, dear friend, of light. And then the fourth thing, there's the change by Jesus that brought luxury. I don't really like that word, but I always like to make my points and use the same letter, and that's the best I could do here. I don't really like it because, you know, some charismatic individual, they'll pick it up and they'll say, well, he's talking about we can be wealthy and have this and have that. And that's not what I'm talking about. However, I would tell you this. There's some luxury that we have in the church that the world doesn't know about. I would say it this way, dear friend. There's some wealth that we have in our life that's unseen by those that are around us. And you begin to look at Lazarus and you can see this. You know, we are told that Jesus was in the home oftentimes of Martha and Mary and Lazarus. And he enjoyed fellowship there. They enjoyed meals and things of that nature. But Lazarus, up to this point, he's just kind of mentioned by name. He's not really brought to the forefront. In the next chapter, in chapter number 12, he's brought to the forefront. I want you to read the first two verses of chapter number 12 with me. Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served. But Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. You know, all of a sudden now, Lazarus has got a place. And where is he? He's at the table with Jesus. Now, that song that was made popular years ago by Beverly Shea, I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather have him than mansions untold. There's something to be said, is there not? To be able to sit and commune with the holy God. There's something to be said, is there not, about walking day in and day out with Jesus. Listen, who did you talk to this week about your problems? Who did you cry out to about the issues? Anybody here this week get down on your knees and just talk to Jesus for a while? When you're in the car and you're driving, you're contemplating the problems, who do you talk to in those moments, dear friend? Anybody here ever mention this name, Jesus? Do you understand what a luxury it is that you and I have the great privilege in this life that we can walk boldly right into the throne of grace? We don't have to go before God as if we don't belong. We don't have to go before God as if we're a stranger. We don't have to approach Him as if He doesn't know who we are. But what He says is this: just come boldly. Just come boldly. We have just about forgotten how much kids eat in our home. We just about forgotten about the fact, you know, Roger, I was like you. Now, y'all not going to believe, but me and Roger's got something in common. And I still hadn't totally broke this habit. But if we'd go to the grocery store and we'd buy something that I wanted to snack on, when we'd get home, I'd put it somewhere nobody else knew where it was. Because this is what I knew with two teenage boys. If you don't do that, when you get ready for it, you know what's going to happen? It's not going to be there. So why do y'all run around harping on us because we're just trying to take care of us a little bit. You know, now we got the grandkids, they come through there and they kind of head to the kitchen and they look back, see if anybody's watching them. And I've had to stop them and just say, you know what? You don't have to do that here. You don't. If you're hungry, go in there. Open the cabinet. If there's something in there, I want you to know this. You didn't pay for it. You didn't go pick it out. You didn't bag it up. And you didn't set it on the shelf. But if it is sitting on the shelf, I want you to know this. It's yours. You don't have to tiptoe around here as if you don't belong. You don't have to walk through here as if you've got to go slip it out. You can just prance through here like you own the place. Walk right in there boldly. If there's something that you need, if you can find it in there and it can meet that need, I want you to know it's yours. And what God says to us right now is this: you can come boldly before the throne of grace to find help in your time of need. Hello? Now I don't know what you call it. I'm going to take my apology back right here. That is luxury. That is luxury. That is what Jesus won for us on the cross of Calvary, dear friend. That is what He offered Lazarus that day, but it's also what He offers us this day. Josh, you and Xander, if you will, come. We ought not to ever count God out. I don't know what all your difficulties are. I don't know what all you're facing. I don't know how much you're up against it, the great extent that it is. But I do know this. I know a God that it's not too hard for Him. I know one, dear friend, we ought not to ever say it's over until He says it's over. We ought to just own up to this. We're not good judges of that to start with. Well, and we all do it. I've done it. I've looked at people and said, I don't think they'll ever get saved. And you know what God does? He saves them. I've looked at situations and I've said, I just don't think there's any hope for that. And you know what God does? He intervenes and He does what we couldn't imagine that He could do. He is the God who can. Jeremiah said, He is the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for Him? You think your situation is the first time that something like this in the history of the world has ever come up? You think that God hadn't looked at the exact situation that you're facing many million times over, dear friend? And do you think He doesn't have the answer for it? Sure He does. He's the God who can. Let's just determine. Let's not call it over till God calls it over. Let's stand together. If you're here this morning, you don't know Jesus, I don't know why you wouldn't run to Him this morning and ask Him to save you. He'd save you if you'd come to Him. Maybe you're here this morning, you'd say, you know what, Pastor, I got a situation and I'm totally giving up on it. I don't think anything can be done. Why don't you just bring it to God? I'm not making any statement right here. God's going to do this or God's going to do that. But I am saying this. You and I ought not to be the one that calls it over till God says it's over. While we sing, if you need to come, won't you come?